千里之行，始于足下。A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together.
When we talk about Feng Shui, you probably recall this slide from last time. What we did was that I came up with 3 examples that are presented to everyone. I wanted to answer the question, well, does it actually work? Is it real? And the answer that you got from me last time is that it does work when it adheres to the Tao. Now, the funny thing is, a lot of times people see it work and not realize the Tao principles that is at work. But if we can look into it and figure out what that Tao principle is, then you can apply it for yourself. So the big questions we answered last time was, when does Feng Shui work? And why does it work? This is what we ended last time. So this is the end of the recap. And now I'm happy to say that we're now able to move to completion of this particular chapter. Here's the bottom line. The bottom line is exactly as you see here. The symbol of yin and yang, and which you now know also as qiankun, that symbol is not static. It is constantly moving and it's constantly going from one extreme to another. Never stops. So here, I want to present to you another yin and yang, qiankun, another complementary duality. To the left, you see your external environment, living spaces, workplace, etc. To the right, you see the internal state of mind, mental and emotional landscape. So this is crucial. This is yin and yang manifesting as the internal versus the external. So with this slide, what I'm saying to everyone is that the internal mental, emotional landscape affects the external and vice versa. The external environment affects the internal. And we all know many instances where this is true. We all know that we can walk into a place and because of aspects of this particular place, it gives us a particular emotion, a feeling. When you walk into an exciting place, a place with a lot of activities, you feel excited. You feel moved by the environment and you want to find out more. You become curious. On the other hand, if you go into a quiet, tranquil place, the quietness and tranquility will filter itself into your consciousness as well. And then you will recognize that this is a place where you can quiet down, enjoy a moment of silence, and contemplate some questions about life. So typically, Feng Shui is used to create quote unquote good luck. So what I'm going to do now is to show you how the underlying principles work so you can have that for yourself whenever you like. So you don't need to consult a Feng Shui expert. If you want to, you can. If you want to, you can buy Feng Shui books, but I'll show you how this works. So if you don't want to bother with that, you don't have to. I'll give you several examples. I'll start out by reiterating the last part of 25, and that completes our discussion of them. And then we will use like 3 examples that should make it crystal clear. So remember the last 4 lines. We start out with 人法地. So in the context of Feng Shui, think about your place, the place where you live, or the place where you work. Your place should have optimal circulation of air, That's Feng. Feng means wind. And water, shui, that's water. So it never gets stagnant or stuffy. I think that just makes common sense. I think everyone can agree with that. And number two, your place should contain more of the essentials, things you actually need, and less of what you do not. You probably know what it's like to be surrounded by clutter, and you know the pain of not being able to find something that you need. It's horrible. So that's number two. And then number three, your place should be arranged in accordance to yin and yang. Yin and yang, what I mean here is no longer internal and external. I'm using yin and yang in a different context. The active versus the quiet. So your place should be arranged in accordance with the complementary dualities in that part of it is used for yang activities. Part of it is used for yin, the rest, the recharging of your batteries, the recuperation. So that is the overall most important three things about Feng Shui as it applies to a place. That's external Feng Shui of the physical world to create good luck. Let's talk about Feng Shui as it applies internally. When I realized that Feng Shui books don't usually talk about this, they just talk about how to rearrange things and how to purchase like a good luck charm that you can hang someplace, or perhaps a mirror, or perhaps plans. They draw diagrams and tell you what should move where, etc. They don't usually talk about the Feng Shui of the mind. That's okay, we're gonna do that. We're about to do that. This is the powerful Feng Shui. So when we talk about the optimal flow of air and water, when we move that internally from the external world, it corresponds to this. Your mind should have optimal flow of new thoughts and ideas so it never gets stagnant, inflexible, or dogmatic. That becomes, use the metaphor of a stuffy room to get an idea of what the sages are trying to drive at. So number two about not being surrounded by clutter in the physical world, when we move that internally, it becomes, well, think about how your mind should also just have the essentials that you hold on to. That you want to avoid holding on to emotional baggage from the past. So I do realize that when I talk about emotional baggage, the term can be kind of vague. People may not know what I'm talking about. So I want to use a real life example of a friend that I know. A friend who was so trapped in emotional baggage that nothing I say will change his mind to have him transform himself for the better. But then I figured the way he is, the way he thinks, at least what I can do is to present that to people as an example of how not to be. So true story. So I know someone who is stuck in life. He's going nowhere near where he wants to be at the age of 50 plus actually. And he is constantly trying to figure out what went wrong. He wants to know what brought him to this point, the situation where he's not exactly suffering, not exactly bankrupt, but he's definitely going through the motions from one day to the next. He is not living the life of his dreams, not fulfilling his potential in any way. He's not feeling any satisfaction or any sense that his life has meaning. That's pretty depressing, right? So what's that got to do with emotional baggage? I am getting to that. You see, when he makes new friends, it doesn't take him very long to talk about his past. He'll say, back in high school, more than 35 years ago, there was a girl that he liked, but he never worked up the guts to ask her out. And now he's wondering, where is she? Where is she now? Perhaps I can reconnect with her through social media. Perhaps I can reach out to her to find out how she's doing, and now I can finally tell her how I felt. But that's after 35 years. He would tell people that he was raised by his grandparents who passed away, left him their house. He sold their house, so now he's living on that and doing all right. But the problem is he doesn't know where to go. He doesn't know where to call home, and he's kind of missing what he had before, the home where he grew up. So where's he going to find a place that is reminding him, that is reminiscent of his old home? So you can see a pattern of what he talks about, things that he's lost, things that will never come back. These he considered to be failures, and he talks about these and other failures in life over and over again. And the more he talked about it, the worse it made him feel. How unfair life has been. Why? Why? So you may know someone like that in your life as well. This is far from uncommon. So to everyone around this particular person, this friend of mine, it was pretty easy to see that he was the problem that he caused himself. Everyone could see that nothing would change if he kept on dwelling in the past and asking why, demanding answers that would never come. So people try to be helpful. They tell him, hey, start doing something about it. And he's very polite. He would thank them, oh, thank you for listening to me and motivating me to do something. But next week comes around, he would start the whole cycle again. Everybody got absolutely tired of it and started to avoid him. Now, why am I talking about all this? Because in the Tao, we regard the good person as our teacher and the bad person as our resource. Now, when we say bad person, it doesn't mean like a malicious, evil person. It just means someone who's not very good at living life with any kind of skill, someone who's bad at it. Such a person keeps creating problems for himself, keeps digging a hole deeper and deeper. If you recognize this as a problem, it's time to learn what not to do, for my friend. And ultimately, the concept is to let go of emotional baggages from the past so you can move on. That's what I mean. And sometimes an example makes it more real. This is an actual person. Lastly, your mind should have the proper balance of yin and yang, just as your place, the place where you live, it's got to have an active component, but also an inactive component for rest. Your mind should also have that proper balance. That is, within your mind, there should be peace and harmony, but there should also be dynamism and energy. There should be the zest for life. There should also be the quiet reserve, and the two should intermix in a harmonious balance. So, as I said, there are three major ideas on this Feng Shui that is internal, that is for the mind. Feng Shui for the mind. So let me just reinforce the three. The Tao of Feng Shui, number one, the flow of thoughts and ideas. It's important to keep new ideas, new thoughts coming through your mind. This was important in ancient times, and I would say it's even more important today. And the reason is because the world is changing so much. We've got advancing technology, we've got communication, we've got all kinds of stuff. We have our smartphones, we have artificial intelligence now becoming a bigger and bigger part of our lives. All of these mean that it's crucial for us to keep up. So then externally and internally. Externally or physically, that you want an environment with excellent natural light and fresh air because it has a profound effect on your mind. It lets your mind be active, productive, and happy. So this is one half of the circle in the yin and yang symbol that you saw, where the external affects the internal. So you definitely want that, but at the same time, you also want the other way, the other direction. You want to cultivate a mind that is refreshed and renewed with new ideas, new thoughts, because they lead you naturally to create or alter your environment, making it feel refreshed and renewed as well. The internal affects the external. So I think that makes it as clear as possible what I mean by the internal and external Feng Shui, the physical and the mental, how they affect one another. We're talking about the secrets of Feng Shui now. So number two is to be selective in what you choose to keep. Now, when I say this, I don't mean to restrict myself to material things. I made this statement specifically so that it would apply to both material things and mental energies. So letting go of anything can be quite a challenge. You know, we look at things, we want to hang on to them for sentimental value. That happens all the time. Fortunately, there are ways to do it that can be helpful to us. Let me first address the two sides, the internal and the external, and then we'll give you a concrete example. If you have an environment that has less clutter in it, it can't help but have a profound effect on your mind. It'll let your mind have the freedom that it needs to pay attention to what really matters. So external to internal. So what about the other way? Internal to the external. A mind that is free of mental clutter will, sooner or later, exert its influence on the environment. So without you making a strenuous attempt, your mind will automatically make your environment simpler and more elegant. And if you can't quite make that work for now, it's only because your mind is not yet free of mental clutter. So let me give you a concrete example of a method that can be helpful. There is a book that I want to bring to everyone's attention. It's got a kind of a surprising and startling title. It's called The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning. You may not have heard of this book before. Here's what it looks like. And you can see that it's by the author, Margareta Magnusson, which, by the way, I'm sure there's an authentic way to say it in Swedish. I just haven't mastered the actual authentic pronunciation of her name yet. So I'll just call her Margareta Magnusson for now. So I would suggest that you look into it because it serves as an excellent reminder that you won't be able to take it with you. The whole process of the book is to talk about looking at your belongings and imagining what's going to happen after your passing. You know, friends and family, do they want your junk? Probably not. So you may as well let go of some of the things that you know that no one will want. This is really taking the Tao and Buddhist notions of impermanence and transience and making it very accessible for everyone. It's just thinking about it is forcing us to face the truth. The truth, the reality. What truth, what reality? Well, the truth and reality that one day there is going to be death cleaning for your stuff because you have passed away. There's going to be death cleaning of my stuff because I have passed away. That's reality. It's a sobering thought to realize that you probably wouldn't want to, you know, burden your loved ones with all the junk you have accumulated. Unworn clothes, They're probably not going to fit other people. They're probably not going to be of interest to anyone. Unwanted presents, maybe presents you haven't even opened, or presents you have opened but are not that useful to you. They become things you will never use. Why keep them? And more to the point, why hang on to them until you pass away and then someone else has to be burdened with the responsibility of throwing them away? So these are the questions that I would like to suggest for everyone to contemplate. That's number 2. Let's wrap it up with number 3 so we can go to the paraphrase for this chapter. So the reminder here is that everything's better when it's balanced. And when I say balanced, people always automatically assume that I mean evenly balanced, like 50-50. I don't mean 50-50 in this case. I mean the right proportion for you. Only you can make that judgment call. So there could be a lot of one thing and very little of the other, and yet they can still be balanced. And a place doesn't have to be very big to be divided into part of it for activities and part of it for resting. Even a small place can have the yin and yang balance, because even a small place can be arranged into yin, rest, and yang, activity, areas. Of course, a larger space can have rooms intelligently assigned for complementary dualities that are kept apart from one another. So to wrap up the 3 aspects in the Tao of Feng Shui, let's be sure to cover how the internal and the external affect one another, starting from the external influencing the mental, the internal. An environment with a proper balance makes the mind more balanced as well. Probably comes as no surprise to anyone. And then conversely, a mind that is properly balanced will seek out, create, or modify an environment until it also has well-defined areas for a specific purpose, whether that purpose is activity, productivity, or rest, contemplation, meditation, whatever the case may be. So in a nutshell, that is Feng Shui.
Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Let us travel safely. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.